Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. We just finished up our database right here. We finished our migration for our subscriptions. Now the next part that we want to do is we want to actually create a trait right here. Right, so this is a trait, as you guys remember from the previous lessons, but if you're new, we created traits where we can actually bundle a whole lot of functionality in a trait and actually just bring into the relevant model. Right, in this case, we need to create a trait for our subscriptions. All right, so we're going to create a trait called HasSubscriptions. So we're going to create a new file, HasSubscriptions.php. All right, now in this case, the ones that can provide subscriptions will basically be the thread at the moment, because we want a user to be able to subscribe to a thread. All right, so that's what we're going to do in this case. All right, so let's go to HasSubscriptions. We're going to create a new opening, closing. Let's say opening PHP tag. Just keep on saying opening and closing. All right, the thing is, we're just going to provide a namespace, and that will go to app traits like that. All right, and then we're going to create a trait. All right. Actually don't want the block quote, and I'm just going to say HasSubscriptions like that. Hopefully my spelling is right. Okay. Now, the trait will basically have a couple of things. The first one is we'll create a public function, and this one will be subscriptions. Right. So we call on this method, and this method will basically call on the subscription relation. Okay. So this, which we haven't created yet, but we're going to create that. Subscriptions, relation, like that. Right, so we haven't created that yet, so let's quickly create that. So we're just going to do a public function and subscriptions relation. All right, this is going to be a polymorphic relationship. It's going to be a morph many, and just make sure you bring it in at the top as well. All right, now this is basically going to return this morph many, and just do that. And now we're just going to pass in the subscription class. Actually, we can do this in separate lines just to make it easier for you guys to read. Okay, so let's do it like this: subscription. That's that one class. Okay, so just make sure you bring it in at the top there as well. Okay. Now the next part is we need to do the polymorphic, the subscriptions relation, the subscription will type, and the subscription will ID. Okay, so let's do that. Subscriptions relation. Okay, and the other one, this one is going to be subscriptionable type. You must remember in polymorphic relationships, we use the able identifier with the type and the ID to be able to let Laravel know how we actually set the relationship. Okay, so subscription ID like that. All right, so now we've got our subscriptions relationship all set up. Now the next part that we want to do in this one is the last one that we want to do is just another public function, and this one is going to be a HasSubscribe. But okay, when we bring in our user model, just make sure you bring it in at the top as well, and this is going to be a boolean. This is just going to return a true or false statement. Let me just bring in there. Okay, so return this subscription relations, this one right there. Okay, we're going to check where the user ID, remember we created a table for subscriptions where the user ID equals to the user ID. Now the thing is, we're calling on the method in the user column. Let me just make sure I imported this. Right, it's imported. I'm referencing the method inside our user ID. So if I go there, you will see I'm referencing this ID, and that ID is basically just returning that ID. So if anyone is questioning why I'm bringing the method ID and not the property. All right, the method actually returns the property, but there's a couple of advantages that I've already explained. All right, let me just do this. Put this in its own line like that, and then we just put another line like this, and we're just going to check if it exists. All right, so this will come either true or false. All right, so now we created our trait. Okay, now the next part will be to actually implement this trait in our threads model. So let's go to our thread model right there, and let's implement quickly the interface, subscribable, that interface as well. Okay, so we bring in that interface. Right, so we got that now. The next part is, as you can see, it is a red underline, meaning there's some of the contracts this model is not fulfilling. All right, but before we go too hastily, we need to bring in that has subscriptions. Just bring in that as well. Now, as you can see, that in underline disappear because this has subscription is fulfilling that contract with our interface. All right, subscriptions, the relation, and the has subscriber right there. Okay, so if we go to our has subscription, you will see we got the subscriptions, the relation, and the has subscriber right there. All right, so now the contract is fulfilled, and the thread mod, the subscription interface is telling the thread model, listen, I'm quite happy with all the methods you have inside. All right, anyway. All right, so we got our subscription in there, and we bring in our interface right there. All right, so what we're going to do in the next part is we need to create in our thread model. Let's go to our model. This is our model right here. Let's go to our controller. Pages, thread controller right here. All right, we need to create additional methods right here. All right, for the user to subscribe to this controller, to basically to the thread, or unsubscribe from this thread. All right, so we need to create those jobs. But before we do that, we need to actually create the routes first. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we need to create three things. We need to create the routes, the jobs that will be able to handle, because we're making use of jobs right here. All right, the jobs to be able to handle the subscription or unsubscribe or subscribe to the thread. And obviously, finally, we need to do the methods inside here. All right, so let's go to our web route. So we just open your controller as well. So we got that open. All right, the next part will be, let's go to our web routes. So let me just open it like this. So in our web routes, we're going to look now for our thread group, this one right here. So we got it open right there. So threads, all right, we got it open. Now the next part that we want to do is we want to create a route that will actually go to subscribe and unsubscribe. Okay, so let's quickly do that. All right, so let's just go this. So we're going to create another route group. Okay, this is going to be a get routes. Okay, so we're just going to create a get route. And as you guys can see, we already prefix it with thread right there. Okay, so we don't need to specify threads again. But what we want to do is we want to specify what thread it is. Okay, so we're just going to put in, this needs to be, okay, this needs to be this thread. Okay, so we do a route model binding right there, and we're just going to do subscribe. Okay, so that's the route we're going to call to, and then inside that we're just going to call basically on our thread controller, and then we're just going to go there, and we're just going to create, this is obviously the class, and inside our thread controller we're going to create a method called subscribe. This, and then we're just going to give it a name of subscribe, like that. All right, so let me just give us some room here. All right, so now this is basically our route now. Now I'm just going to copy this one down, and this one is going to be unsub, and unsub right there, like this. Right, so we got the subscribe and unsubscribe one right there. Right, so obviously this will be threads.subscribe, in threads.unsubscribe. Okay, so let's go to our controller and actually create those methods. So in our controller right here, let's quickly create them. So public function. All right, the first one is going to be subscribe. Okay, and the next one will be, let me just copy this one down quickly, just to speed up. Right, and this one will be unsubscribe. Okay, like this. All right, so I will stop it there for now. So we create our controller. And then the next one, because I want this methods and the job to be together so that we can be able to, instead of just rushing through this, just to take my time in it. All right. So there's a couple of things I just want to explain in it. All right. All right. So we've done all of the necessary work to get here. So the next part, what we will do is we will update this subscribe, when we update this and create a job to actually subscribe or unsubscribe. All right. Thank you guys for watching. And if you like the video, please give it a like. If you don't, please give it a dislike. Constructive, negative suggestions, or any feedback are always appreciated. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.